when you left that boat. Thought you'd sink if I couldn't float. Would you lose your guilt if I was your daughter or father? If you're on the water, 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 beware. If you're on the water, 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 take care. When you climb that tree, they should have never left you alone. I wish I heard you shout. I would have rushed down at the slightest sound. If you're on the water, 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 beware. If you're on the water, 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 take care.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see connections, those who joined us this morning for the webinar on EU missions possible. And this event is on Restore Our Oceans and Waters by 2030. This is a joint webinar that we are organizing together with our good colleagues and friends, actually, in Latvian and Estonian Liaison Offices for Research and Innovation in Brussels. So I think we can wait one more minute to allow people to connect, and then we'll say hello in Lithuanian, Estonian, and Latvian. Labas rytas dar kartą visiems, sveikinuosi lietuviškai. And now I switch back to English and give the word to my good colleague Egita.
Labrīt visiem, prieks sveikt jūs latviski. No Briseles esmu Egita Aizsilniece, vadu Latvijas tehnoloģiju un inovāciju pārstāvniecību Briselē un vēlu jums jauku noderīgu webināru šodien. And now I give the floor to my dear colleague and friend Ule from Estonia.
Thank you. Tere! Me väga täname ka Eesti auditooriumi, et te olete liitunud meiega. Minuga on siin koos täna meie klaster 6 valdkonna kontaktpunkt Katrin Saar. Nii et kui teil peale seda üritust on meil täpsustavaid küsimusi, siis Katrin on just meie õige kontakt, kelle poole nende küsimustega pöörduda. Nii et tere tulemast ja head seminari!
So, yeah, you heard a bit of the Baltic languages, and yeah, we're kind of celebrating the multilingualism, which French presidency is stressing a lot this half a year. As I mentioned, this is a series of events that we've already started last year. We had one event on general introduction on the missions concept, and in December we had an event on cancer. So the plan is to go through all the 5 missions, but today we are focusing on the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. And the Baltic countries, they all share the same coastline. We are situated at the Baltic Sea, and it's really nice to see the plans in the missions work program to have a lighthouse also in the Baltic Sea region. So I think this event is very timely and will be useful for you to get ideas how can we all engage in this ambition to restore our oceans and waters. And of course, this is such a level of ambition that is impossible to achieve without joint efforts. And like this event is also a joint effort. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you our main speaker, keynote presenter, Mr. Christos Economou, who is the mission manager at the Commission. And he is the acting director at DG Mare. So, Christos, the floor is yours. We are very glad that you found time to participate in this event and to present this ambition that EU has set for itself. So we'll share the screen for you, and yeah, please take the floor.
Well, dear Brigitta, dear colleagues, good morning to all of you. I'm also very pleased with the occasion that you give me the opportunity to take you through this ambitious endeavor that we have launched with the mission Ocean and Waters, and also to address specifically the Baltic States, because we need to go indeed to the different sea basins. Probably you don't know in my background that I am at the same time head of unit for the regional maritime regional cooperation in Mare. Aside the mission manager and the acting director hat. So I have a big sensitivity about listening the voice and also talking to the different constituencies of Europe, the maritime Europe, that we call it in the language of the blue economy. And for sure, you have heard before about the missions. The concept, you said it yourself, I think, very clearly, that it's a joint endeavor which goes beyond the usual research and development family. We need to mobilize much more actors if we want to achieve these objectives. And you heard it from the other missions. For us, it's indeed the blue element that we bring to the Green Deal. It's probably a very good way when you see the slide that you put already on the screen, how these two elements are combined together. So If we can go to the next slide, it's definitely the opportunity to discuss how we can have this two-way street that we need for implementing the mission, joining the forces, and for us to help you deliver on your national, regional, and local priorities, because you have committed yourselves in delivering for the Green Deal, the climate challenges that we face all together, but also how you can help us deliver on the implementation of the mission. Because we need this exchange, we need to engage beyond the EU funds, that they come together, of course, with the budget which is dedicated to the mission. So the joint effort is the first thing that I would like also to highlight. Let's come to the next slide, because that gives us a bit of an overview on the mission objectives and targets. I think maybe you've heard it already, but for me, it's essential part of what this mission is about. We had really to develop certain objectives, otherwise the title, you imagine, it can be everything. It can be so broad that we can get lost ourselves in it. So what are the three main objectives? Is to protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, prevent and eliminate pollution of our oceans, seas, and waters, and make the blue economy carbon neutral and circular. So what you see next to each of these objectives are the targets. The targets are not new, are not made by the mission. They are the targets that we have set in the Green Deal. And of course, we use the mission, as I say, to deliver on these targets. So you see clearly under the first objective how we link this to protecting 30% of the UC areas and strictly protect the 10% that goes, of course, within the direction of the Green Deal, the biodiversity strategy. Also, the work we need to do for the rivers, restoration of quite important the distance, if we calculate in kilometers of free-flowing rivers, and of course degraded seabeds, the beds, coastal ecosystems, are all these coming under the first objective. Then clearly the pollution of the seas, plastic, a big problem, microplastic, nutrient losses, chemicals, all this coming under the second objectives, how to reduce them in meaningful ways. And then coming to the third objective, which is also very much related to the key objective of the Baltic and North Sea Lighthouse, is the carbon neutrality for maritime emissions, the zero carbon aquaculture, and also the low carbon multi-purpose use of marine spaces. So these are in one slide, in one let's say picture, the main objectives. If you see a little bit beyond at the end of the slide, we have two key enablers. First of all, the data, the information we have about the ocean. It's essential in developing whatever actions we would like to achieve, and also having a very big, how can I say, very big deliverable under this, which is the digital ocean, the digital twin of the ocean, a key project which will really enable quite a lot of work that will be happening under the rest of the objectives, building on Copernicus, EMODNet. So the existing infrastructure we have, we will try to replicate all the ocean data in this digital twin. So a big enabler for achieving the mission, but also a very important enabler coming next to it is the public mobilization and engagement. there. This is, I think, where we need to go beyond the scientific communities, beyond the administrations, to reach the citizens through the ocean literacy effort, through the work we do with the youth ambassadors and all that. So let's go to the next slide, where I come more into the regional dimension of the mission. And I said, of course, how important is to talk to the different constituencies around those lighthouses. First of all, you see that we have put 3 lighthouses with a clear sea dimension: the Mediterranean Sea, the Baltic and North Sea, that of course is of most of interest to you, and the Atlantic and Arctic basin. But we also have one which is clearly related to the rivers with the Danube river basin. So we will not, let's say, focus on the specific objectives of the lighthouse for the entire life of the lighthouses. It is something you need to take with caution, that in the beginning we will be looking on specific objectives for each lighthouse, but afterwards, of course, there will be the development, the demonstration, and the scaling of the different activities to cover the entire Europe. So, for instance, in the Baltic and the North Sea, we will really focusing on the emissions on this part, which is, I explained earlier, is more related to the carbon neutral and circular economy, but it does not mean that we will not look also into solutions that will be developed regarding plastic pollution and other elements. So we will have, let's say, those lighthouses are not simple demonstration projects. They are like a platform of activities. This is how we want to see it, that allow all the different actors to come together and contribute to the mission, not only through the dedicated calls that Horizon Europe will deliver, and you know very well about this, but also through the national programs, through the national funds, and even private funds, financial institutions that we will need to come together and support our mission objectives. I will develop a little bit later also how we will commit all these actors, because you will say, how will you reach out to all this? It's through this charter that we have already announced in the implementation of the mission, in the implementation plan we have for the mission, and which really needs to be developed together with you. We started the discussion with member states very recently, a week ago in Brest, so we're waiting feedback on how this charter of commitment should look like. Let's go to the next slide, because here is what I already explained you, how we will be focusing our efforts in the mission lighthouse, which is dedicated to the North and the Baltic Sea basin. So very much it is about the emission, it is about the low impact aquaculture, and also all the different infrastructures that are related to activities at sea, from ports, from shipping, from fishing activities. So all the different blue economy activities that contribute to emissions, how this can be controlled and leading to the objectives of the Green Deal for making the economy carbon neutral and circular. We know that there is a lot of work happening already on this. It's not like the mission will come to bring all the solutions, but what we want is how to reinforce the existing efforts, how to scale up projects and deliver market solutions. Because if we want to achieve this type of objectives, we want also to have solutions that the market can sustain and the market can choose to implement. So this is what we need also for the, we need all the actors to commit in this endeavor, both from the investment side, the policy side, but also for the deployment side. Just as a reminder, what I said earlier, that the focus in the first phase, it is exactly this for the Baltic and the North Sea, but don't forget the broader objectives of the mission that will come also to you through the in the second phase of implementing the mission. And just also to recall the possibility for any country, for any region in Europe to be associated in activities in another lighthouse. This is open, so you should not say that I'm only interested and I'm only trapped in this, my lighthouse. There are indeed quite a lot of interesting ways in bringing yourselves in the other elements, because you would say, yes, I'm also interested about the river-related solutions. We also have rivers, so I need to go and probably get involved in projects and see what is happening in the Danube Sea Basin and what is developed there. So there are possibilities of that. It's clear. Let's not misunderstand it. Let's come to the next slide, because I also mentioned the two phases in the implementation of the mission. And here you see where we will be focusing into the first phase, which goes up to 24. And there it is, of course, the big objectives, the big challenges, the rolling out of the mission lighthouses. There are support actions that I will explain you in the next slide, but we need to create all the conditions for arriving to getting results, as I say, in much more broader scale in the second phase. But the reaching out to all actors, this is the main objective in the first phase, how to commit all those that can contribute from the different sides of the society, the scientific community, the citizens, etc. The upscaling and development phase is the one which will follow us from 2025 onwards. Don't forget that we are looking in a decade, basically. We say the target is for 2030, what we can achieve until then. So it's clearly that we have split the two in a way that we have really to focus in the next in the second phase on the development of solutions and in the much broader, if I may say, use of results from the different lighthouses. There is a midterm review, which comes quite early in the process, not only for the ocean mission, but for all the missions. It is, I think, a helpful way to see where we are standing, both for the using of the budgets and the mobilization of the actors. But we will need to do this, and I think that's why we have to really achieve very good results in this first year in 2022. Let me come to the next slide, which gives a bit the governance, which is not, let's say, a very simple one, but it makes sense for those who followed already the logic of how we need to the different actors to come together. Of course, the commission, the mission manager, deputy mission are in the center. So you know that I'm sharing this responsibility with the colleagues from DG RTD, and particularly John Bell, that you probably had also the opportunity to hear. This is not only let's say the work of 2 DGs. We have all the other DGs through the mission owners group involved when we discuss about the work program, when we discuss about implementation of the mission, when we discuss about how the other programs of the EU are contributing to the mission. So we have a mission owner group, and this is the core of the work within the Commission. But around that, you see also how they're reaching out to the member states, the regions, the international dimension, and the other, of course, EU institutions that follow the implementation and support us in this work. Not forget the mission board. This is an important instrument that we have also set up to help us in the way the mission was prepared for the last 2 years. We will continue with the mission board with a more advisory role also in the way that we communicate about the mission as ambassadors for the mission. So we will have a new mission board set up, and it's the same way that it is for the other missions. Let's go to the next slide, please. I'm looking at the time as well, but I think I'm more or less set with that. The support for the lighthouses, it's, I think, quite important for you to know. When we ask how we can really join forces, you say, yes, but what are you doing to support us, to support the development of the different lighthouses? So we have, first of all, the baseline studies on which we work already. We started back in December, and we will continue, I mean, to finish this baseline studies up in until next September. So this is our timing, and that will define the situation in each lighthouse. As I say, we do not start from scratch, so we have really to see where we are, which are the successes and the objectives, how we adapt the objectives on the basis of those baseline studies. Then we have a portfolio of projects. There you also saw already the first calls that came with Horizon Europe for the mission work program under the 2021 work program, and now we are also in the process of developing the one for 22. And let's not forget the activities of other EU programs that are relevant for the mission, for developing, for instance, the digital twin of the ocean or the citizens engagement activity. So there is a portfolio of projects, not only coming from Horizon, but also from the other projects, from the other programs. Now, the implementation platform is also set under the Horizon money for monitoring and reporting purposes, but also for provision of technical assistance. So it's technical assistance not only to the Commission, but also to the member states, to the region. So it's important to recall that there will be an implementation platform that will support us in these activities. And then the coordination and support actions, this is clearly the communication, dissemination activities, connecting to stakeholders, etc. And that will be also launched year after year, month after month, and it's a crucial point in the moment in time we are now, as explained. The implementation charter will provide, if you like, the central piece of commitment of how all these different actors, how all these different programs will cooperate in delivering the objectives. So we are planning to have dedicated workshops on the charter per lighthouse, per sea basin. So this is a first contact we have with you, but we will need to renew our appointment to discuss more in detail the type of commitments that we would expect for the Baltic and the North Sea Lighthouse, the same as for the others. So it's really a first discussion we have on that. And to recall also that for those of you who followed the Brest side event we organized on the 8th of February, that you can also give us feedback in writing on the draft charter that was presented then. Can we go to the next slide, please? Because this is already something I covered more or less about the synergies of the programs. Yeah, it's very easy for me to talk about Horizon and MFAF. It's the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, because it is managed by DG Mare. So there is, of course, focus and already activities that contribute to the mission. But we are looking much broader to LIFE, to Interreg, to InvestEU. All these are, this is the work we are doing with the Commission services as well, but also you also need to look into that on the way you manage EU funds that they come through this specific fund. So both the member states and the regions need to look on the way that the operational programs are implemented, because that gives you the funds that they will support the mission in the way you know from national and regional level. The international partners definitely are associated. There are the alliances there. We have the regional institutions like the UFM, or the alliances with in the Atlantic with the US, Canada. So under AORA, so all this, the UN Decade for Ocean Science. So these are teaming up. The same for the public and private sectors. Let's not forget the bank and the financial institutions and the philanthropy. We are also looking into that direction. We know that big institutions, big philanthropy have also focusing onto the ocean and how they can promote with very substantial means solutions for supporting the ecosystem, supporting the cleaning up of oceans. So we are looking into that direction, and mobilization will indeed be quite strong from our side. Now, the citizens and the youth, we already have quite a lot of initiatives going in that direction. Let's not forget, we are in the European Year of the Youth, so we have quite a lot of activities around the youth to mobilize them for the mission. Let's go to the next slide, please, which is, I think, the last one, and shows a bit of planning, provisional planning on how we will be rolling out the mission. And as I said, we started with a dedicated workshop to initiate the co-creation of the charter, the implementation charter, last week, because this is conceived as something which will give not only visibility to the work, but also make you think already of what type of contributions you will bring to this, to the realization of the objectives of the lighthouse and the mission. So we are looking in a general charter for the entire mission, and then to specific objectives per lighthouse. So this is where we would hear from you with when we are looking to the lighthouse for the Baltic and the North Sea, what type of commitments you are bringing in to the charter. Now, the dedicated event that I mentioned that will happen now in the next months we are focusing, we're starting already discussions with the regional institutions, because we don't want to recreate, if you like, any new institutions for the lighthouses. So we are looking, for instance, to the UFM for the Mediterranean. We are looking to in the Black Sea, to the Danube macro-regional strategy. In the Baltic Sea, we are looking to the structures you have there for the Baltic Sea region macro-regional strategy, for instance. So we would like really to bring these events side by side with events that will be already in the planning in the different sea basins. And the endorsement of the charter should also come with dedicated events in the different sea basins. I cannot give you specific dates yet. I'm afraid this is really in the making. We will need to start with events in one of the lighthouses, and then the others will follow. We cannot have a big bang and everything happens in the same time, because also we are following the calendar of events that are different in the different sea basins. Political endorsement is very important indeed. So we are looking also, for instance, on the work that the next presidency could do in the relation to the Danube lighthouse when we have the Czech Republic, or we are looking also even to Sweden for the presidency, which starts on 23, to have also a dedicated event for the Baltic and North Sea. So these are things to still to be discussed, but that gives you a bit of a flavor how we try to associate lighthouses with the political dimension of EU presidency, or events happening in the macro-regional strategies and the other framework fora of cooperation in the different sea basins. So I think that was my last slide. Yes, indeed. What I would like to say as a final word is, again, the notion of two-way streets. This is, I think, the dialogue is already a two-way street, but also the way the mission is rolled out is a two-way street if we like to have fulfilling objectives, both from the EU and the Commission side, but also from your side, the regions and the civil society. Thank you very much, and I'll stay with you for any questions.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a very interesting presentation, and I think we got a very good overview what will be happening and what is already happening now. I made a lot of notes for myself, and there are some things which I would like to perhaps stress again, and when we have been talking with our audience as well, that with open participation, what you mentioned, that participants are really encouraged to take part in different lighthouses as well. I think this is something that is very important and very well appreciated as well. And I think we got a very good overview of the phases. And with those discussions, you mentioned that we have to keep up the discussions and continue with the discussions, especially what is concerning the Baltic Lighthouse. I think this is something that we would be very interested in. And connected to the next activities and the goals of emissions, we received already some questions in advance. And one question is about the goals, and more concretely about educational goals. So how to create the educational goals of this topic, and how to guarantee the implementation of these goals, and in general as well the goals of the mission. But I think you partly already covered that questions as well. You mentioned the synergies and you mentioned the member states, but perhaps you could elaborate a bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for bringing this question, because it is related also to the youth. I said how important it is to address specifically this year, but not to forget it afterwards, how much we count on the youth when we are looking into the way we sensibilize our citizens and how much we educate the youth about the possibilities that they come through the new technologies and the new sectors under the for the blue economy and the maritime business generally. So the ocean literacy is looking exactly into that, in how mobilize youth and how to make them understand the importance of the oceans and waters. For example, the EU for Ocean Coalition was set up 2 years ago by DG Mare, and progressively it builds up on momentum, creating the so-called blue schools, for instance. We develop also activities reaching out to school and youth through campaigns. And the mission can use this network, contributing to the next generation, if you like, of businessmen or decision makers, and creating, if you like, a basis for much better start in the philosophy of what happens after the mission. I mean, the mission is not like we achieve our objectives and we finish with it. So if we talk to the youth today, if the youth of today really make this a priority on the way they interact and they behave as citizens, as businessmen or businesswomen, and they have this possibility from the very start to understand that, we are sure that we can really look in a different future. Otherwise, it doesn't mean that we have only the activities for 10 years and then nothing afterwards. We also have some initiatives in the work program already. The one for the ocean mission this year about the plastic pirates initiative, because that was something which has already started for specific countries, but now we have really looking into the broader EU dimension of this type of activities that help in collecting plastic, monitoring plastic pollution, etc. Then we have a foresight study on the expectations of the youth, the new generation, on how they can contribute and shape the future policies. So you see, we try to keep the youth involved in many ways, and also ensure that we go beyond the scientific community. I think many of you're used to talk to students that have already, you know, the right education, but we need to go and step before that. We need to go really to the schools and to support broad activities regarding education. It is, I think, reaching out in many different publics at the same time. But education, it's really a channel to which we are looking particularly, and I think we will really doing quite a lot of activities. But also, this type of activities can come from the countries, from the regions as well. I mean, it's not just us through the actions that I explained that we will do all the necessary mobilization. That's things that also depend on the educational system of its country and how much you support this type of activities and courses. I'll give you also another example, that the so-called blue schools started in Portugal. So it's something that we found as a very good example to replicate and support further. So these are the things that will be supporting also the mission, the educational dimension of the mission. Well, I stop here because I can say quite a lot about it.
Thank you. As we have here a quite tight time schedule, perhaps, Brigitte, we could take one question from chat.
Yeah, there are two good questions, actually, quite practical ones. The one from Pier Francesco is about the implementation, actually, as missions are oriented towards concrete solutions. So the question is why in some lighthouses only coordination support actions are envisaged, at least so far. Yeah, why there are no innovation actions or research and innovation actions? Because time is running, and well, why shouldn't we start acting instead of collaborating and exchanging, which is also very important. But yeah, we want to do something now.
Yeah. Well, of course, I understand that the way that people are very much into how much we can contribute already. And just to say that 90% of the mission budget in the Horizon Work Program goes to innovation actions, not to the coordination and support actions. But those type of actions are very important in the start. Because if we do not set up all these elements that we need for mobilizing the different communities, for offering you the support also for the contributing at the national and regional level to the mission, then we will miss our target, and on some time in the middle we realize that we could have done much better if we had this or the other indicator or the other baseline study, because we could at least do not duplicate about things. So it's very important to set up this type of activities in the beginning, but then afterwards we will be much more into the innovation actions. And let's not forget that you looked now probably only to the work program of 2021. We are preparing the next years, and then you will see how much will go into innovation actions, and obviously the different lighthouses, they will have their share of activities. It is certainly something I heard from member states, the sensitivity that all lighthouses get the same attention. I think this is also our objective. So it's only I can only guarantee you that we will be here listening what you have to tell us, and the work programs, the future work programs, will bring in those elements that you are looking at and you are expecting from the mission. But it's not only that. As I say, the work programs, Horizon, one thing, but there's much more to come from your side too.
Yes, thank you. And there's also one more very practical question. You already mentioned the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund that is managed by DG Mare. So the question was, do you have set aside some funds directly under your management, or the member states should do that under their operational programs? So very concrete and to the point.
No, we are absolutely right. It's a very good example of dual use. Because, of course, let's say from our side, the Commission does also quite a lot in what we manage directly under the MFAF. Previously it was the MFF, now MFAF. When we are looking, for instance, into the Blue Invest, we have funds that every year go into the supporting of the blue economy, sustainable blue economy. And also the same goes for support actions to aquaculture, etc. But the big chunk which goes to the blue investment and the through the InvestEU and the cooperation we have under this new instrument under the European Investment Fund, it's a clear contribution of MFAF budget directly managed by the Commission, DG Mare, into the mission, because these are clearly objectives about how blue economy become much more sustainable with solutions that they come to the market. I highlighted that from the beginning. So this is only an example. Of course, we also have other type of solutions regarding plastic. We have dedicated calls for the different sea basins, targeting different aspects of the blue economy, and the sustainability is always there. It's not something that it goes, separately. So there is a big contribution from the side, let's say, of the directly managed funds, but then the operational programs, this is under your responsibility, under the member states, under the regions. So when we will be asking you how you contribute to the mission, you need to look into that indeed and make the best use for linking the objectives of what you need to do, how you deliver on biodiversity, how you deliver on emissions from even fishing vessels, because there are possibilities how you can look into investment in this type of sector or topic. So these are things that you can definitely use the money coming from MFAF to support the mission and to make sure that this go also in a quite visible way in as a contribution to the mission. That's more or less what I can reply, and the same goes for the other funds, regional funds, etc.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting, and we would love to discuss even further, but time is really running, and we want to invite another speaker. But again, thank you so much for the time that you allocated to this region, and we'll definitely cooperate in the future. And of course, we'll share your slides, and also we'll send you the questions. There's one more question on the associated countries participation, and so we'll keep in contact.
Yes, definitely. We have to clarify that part on the associated countries. They are associated, they remain part of the missions and the lighthouses. I'll be pleased to, to continue this discussion. I will stay on. I would be interested to hear, of course, what the other participants have to say. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And as I say, it's only the start. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I would give now the word to my colleague Katrin Saar to introduce our next speaker.
Yes, hello from my side. So the first speaker from the Baltic countries is Professor Simon Bell from the Estonian University of Life Sciences, and introducing the Horizon 2020 project called Blue Health. Please, Simon.
Thank you. I'm just about to share my screen. And I hope it's. I hope that's working okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm afraid I'm going to have to be quite quick because I got a bit of a muddle in my head about which time zone I'm in. So anyway, Terihomikost, Labrit, Labasritas, and I'll move on. So Blue Health was the project about blue space and human health and well-being, which I was one of the lead researchers in Estonian University of Life Sciences, representing Estonia, which is why we're included. The point about this is to do with human health and well-beings, and before we came to the project, we understood there was lots of work linking natural environments and improved health. But they tended to focus on green spaces, forests, parks, other green areas, and there was a big gap in water. So we found out there was less known about blue spaces. So that's any kind of landscape with water in it. Of course, not just the sea, but rivers, lakes, and a lot of other kinds of things as well. So why would Europe be a good place for this? Well, it has 91,000 kilometers of coastline over. 194 coastal cities, so lots and lots of people live on the coastline. More than 50% of the population live within 50 kilometers of the sea or within 2.5 kilometers of fresh water. So again, access to water is very, very big thing. We were obviously multi-partner project, and as far as the Baltics concerned, well, we had partners in Sweden, although we're mostly on the Skagerrak kind of Kattegat part. And then we had, of course, Estonia, plus other countries around Europe, and different kinds of institutions, including World Health Organization. So it was funded by Horizon 2020 with 6 million. It was launched in 2016, ran till December 2020 with an extension, with lots of legacies beyond, and we're still producing lots of outputs. There's still papers coming out and other activities going on. So what do we mean by blue space exactly? So it's in, on, or near, or sensing blue space. It can be natural or man-made. It has to be outdoor environments. We weren't looking at swimming pools and indoor spaces particularly. Featuring water, obviously, and accessible to humans. So it could be on the rural-urban gradient and coastal to inland, and many different kinds. Now we have this conceptual model. So we start with, we're looking at population, or we looked at population health and well-being. So how do we maximize the positive impacts of urban blue spaces? And that depends on the kind of contact with blue space, which could be direct or indirect, and activities in blue spaces. And these could be physical, social, or virtual as well, for that matter. Now, this contact and activities then depend on the quantity and quality of blue space. So, and the accessibility of it. How do we ensure the accessibility of these spaces? Which in turn depends on urban planning and infrastructure. So that comes down to urban design in the proximity of the blue spaces, particularly, of course, in coastal cities, but those on rivers as well. And then all of that is determined, or it's within the context and the frame of climate change, extreme events like flooding, pollution, and those sorts of things. So natural and indeed man-made processes changing over time. So the kind of things you're talking about, and this ocean and lighthouses and so on that we've just heard all about, is actually providing the framework within which everything to do with blue health, in effect, takes place. So we conducted lots of research, starting with systematic reviews, secondary survey data, a large international survey. We did a number of experimental social and structural interventions. We did some virtual reality lab-based experiments, future scenario planning, looking at what kind of blue spaces, what kind of future we would like to have, which actually I think fits in very well with this kind of the lighthouse work that you're talking about. A decision support tool that was done by the World Health Organization, and lots of engagement and dissemination, which this is still a continuing part. The systematic reviews were the evidence when the project began, and there's lots of publications which you can find out about all of that. Most of these are open access. We found there were inconsistent evidence for the benefits, which led us towards more work and needing standardized design and reporting, and showing more evidence was needed. So we did also secondary data. I won't spend much time on that, learning from existing data sets. So there was existing data about residential exposures or recreational use of blue spaces, so tried to harmonize this. There were data sets from England and Wales, from Catalonia and from Scania. So coordinating that, doing processing, assessing exposure amounts from these different data sets, and then a meta-analysis of the results and synthesis and so on. The Blue Health Survey was a very interesting primary data gathering, the largest survey of its kind in the world. We got 18,000 international respondents from 14 European countries, all of the Blue Health countries, plus some others, plus Australia, California, Canada, and Hong Kong, who wanted to join in using their own funds, representative by age, gender, and region. And we explored several research questions about use and well-being associated with the blue spaces, physical activities, mental health, and many differences between countries. And things like this. So look, probability of visiting weekly to a blue space depends on your nearness or proximity to it. That was rivers. This was lakes, but the big one is the coastline. So if you live close like a coastline, the probability of visiting and getting all of the benefits is much greater the closer that you live. So all those people, that huge population living on coastlines, have these potential big benefits. The social and structural interventions were interesting. We did these based on the concept of urban acupuncture, which means very small targeted interventions that have a much bigger effect than might be expected from that. We did 5 of these in Estonia, Spain, Portugal, and the UK. We did 2 in Estonia, and several of these were on the coast. They were done with community interaction and co-design, and they were redesign of spaces to improve access and to assess the physical and mental health impacts that those implemented interventions created. And we did a pre and post intervention assessment using various tools that we developed in the project. And out of this, we've also created, and I'll come back into this at the end, an Urban Blue Spaces book and the Blue Profiles website, which you can all have access to, which is all about best practice and illustration of great projects and so on. So in Estonia, we did smaller interventions in Tallinn and in Tartu, one on the coast and one on an urban lake, in less used areas in urban environments. We did community participation to come up with the designs, and we created new spaces with seating and walkways and access. And then we evaluated the impacts using the 4 tools that were developed and which you can all, which are all freely available: the Blue Health Behavioral Assessment Tool, Community Level Survey, Environmental Assessment Tool, and the Decision Support Tool. In UK, there was one in Plymouth. Also lots of involvement and partly funded by the local council. We did new grass seating, a little outdoor theatre, and we evaluated the impacts again using those same sets of tools. And that map shows how you collect data on how people behave in a particular area. In Spain, it was a different thing altogether. It was a modernist spring that had been abandoned, and then it was renovated with community and volunteers to produce something you sit in the hot weather, and you get kind of moisture and humidity that makes it comfortable. And then again, the impacts were all assessed. In Portugal, there's something gone wrong with the presentation here. It was in an inland park, and it was improving it. And again, the same things were all done using the same sorts of tools. And again, it was all with collaborative with the community. Now we've come up with these new tools, and there are 3 that we developed, and particularly 2 that we developed in Tartu. So the behavior assessment tool is to find out, and then to what people do on a site. The assessment tool is to find out about the site. Community level surveys to collect information about people living nearby a site. And the decision support tool is about the risks and benefits associated with that particular blue space. So they are all there to help planners, architects, and communities to evaluate and monitor blue space use. You do assessments pre and post intervention, and they inform the blue infrastructure design, and they're all robust, transparent, and repeatable. So the Blue Health Environmental Assessment tool is to collect the social, physical, and ecological characteristics about the site, its environmental and ecological state, and you collect data against different scorings, and you can produce these kind of spidergrams. It uses 4 particular steps: a pre-site survey desk study, a description of the site, an in-situ terrestrial site survey, and a water ecosystem assessment, which in fact Katrin Saar, who was introducing me when she was working at the university, actually she developed the water ecosystem assessment before she moved on to ETAG. The behavior assessment tool is about what people do at a site. So it's who is doing what and where. So you're mapping passive and active behaviors. It compares groups and activities, and it suggests a particular observation protocol. And there's all guidance on how to do this. And it can do statistical analysis, both spatially and non-spatially. And it's built in QGIS, that's Quantum GIS, a publicly available freeware geographical information system. And there's things you can download for that off the Blue Health Tools website. And then the community level survey measures social context and well-being. So it's a survey you can use online, on paper, or in person, and you can add questions or subtract questions. And it builds the evidence base for who are the people using the area, where do they go, what do they do, and did it affect their health particularly, for example, in time spent in the previous 4 weeks at Blue Spaces, physical health and mental health. And then the decision support tool is aimed at planners, authorities, engineers, policymaker, business, and the public. And it depends on the different kind of coastal environment that you have. And it highlights the risks and benefit to public health and well-being, and also to the environment itself. And then the future scenarios about preparing society for the future to inform decision makers how to design, manage, and protect blue spaces. And these were created in collaborative workshops in 5 European cities with planners, architects, environment and healthcare experts, and considered the risks from flooding, pollution, increased heat islands, and more. So we informed lots of governance through this. We compared analysis of urban governance in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Plymouth to help to understand how to ensure blue space is prioritized, and for different decision-making approaches when you've got many interests at stake in a particular environment, and what helps and what doesn't help. So the key outputs, and I'd like to promote these to you, is a book called Blue Space, Planning and Design for Water, Health and Wellbeing, Urban Blue Spaces. And it's open access and downloadable from Routledge's website. So anybody after this webinar can go there and download it. And it's got lots of great materials in it. Lots of the evidence, lots of the tools are described, and lots of examples of great blue spaces. And then we have the tools website, which you can also find, and it has this Blue Health Environmental Assessment tool and Behavior Assessment tool on it. And we are managing that from Tartu, which is why it's only those tools, so we can maintain it, you know, beyond the kind of life of the Blue Health website. And within that website, we also have Blue Profiles, a series of critically reviewed good practice examples from around the world for inspiration. Is still being uploaded because there's a lot of them. There's going to be 180 examples, and there's about 100 or so, I think, uploaded already, and you can go and find them, and they've been critically reviewed. So that was a very quick burst through Blue Health. So you can find the rest of the toolbox on here, on these, by going to the Blue Health website. And that's really all I have time to say right now, because I'm pushing into time. I've got to do some teaching, which I've got my time scale a little bit messed up. So back to you, Katrin.
Yes.
If that was a bit quick, then I think you'd better to look at the presentation yourselves and explore the website. There's the website address. So note it and go and check it all out. And definitely get the book, Katrin.
Yes, thank you, Simon, for this great example how to bring different research areas together in one project. So I have one quick question. Do you have time for it? Okay.
I think so, yes.
What kind of additional help or information would researchers need to get engaged of this kind of ocean mission? Do you have any ideas about that? Or your experience in the Blue Hut?
Yeah, I think the thing to do with the ocean mission is a lot of it seems to be about, you know, the quality of the water and all of this. But I think the land-water interface is a very important part about this. No, not just the water part, but all of the coastlines and everything else like that. And therefore, this big interaction of people with coastlines, because they are fantastic places. And of course, people go to coastlines, they go to the beaches, they experience the pollution, trying to swim in dirty water. They see the problems of turtles not being able to nest anymore. They see the pollution of plastics and so on coming up on the surface. So it's very important for managing the water, also for improving the possibilities for blue health. I think that's a crucial interaction. And also there's so much pressure on coastlines, particularly beaches with holiday makers and all the rest of it. And this is where potentially lots of pollution and so on and pressure comes on the environment of the coastline and pollution into the water. and of course, pollution from hotels and all the rest of it. So I think there's a lot of things that actually go hand in hand with this.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's an excellent answer. Thank you so much, and we will move on to the next presenter.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Simon. And I take a floor to introduce the case of Latvia. I introduce Marta Kaprale, who is working with me at Latvian Investment Development Agency in the mission control board, let's say. She is a team member who works particularly on mission C 2030, and it's a country mission. And Marta will give you more information on it. So Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Agita. Hello, everyone. And I just wanted to also reflect on what just Simon said, just a short introduction. I think it's a very valuable point about the connection of people's habits and life towards ocean and river health. And I think that is also something that we are trying to address, not only society, but also industry's attention, because as we know, the sea is the result of the way we live and do business and produce and so on. So it's just, it's a very important focus for us, but I will continue with my presentation where actually I speak about it as well. So I will try to connect now. Yes, and yes, and here it is. Yeah, I hope you see it now. Yeah, all good?
I don't see. Do you see, guys?
No, unfortunately.
No, that doesn't work somehow.
Okay, okay, we will try once again. Ah, it is like small lunch pause.
Did we lose our speaker?
Seems so. Yeah. Could I suggest then to move to Lithuanian case, and then meanwhile, I guess she will come back. Yeah. So Agita,
Yes,
could
I will
you?
do.
Okay, Marta, will reconnect.
I'm back. I just had
Okay, let's try. Because yeah,
Yeah.
it just worked perfectly before. But...
Yeah. It's just sometimes it's technologies that sometimes happens. So, and sharing screen. And now? Do you see now?
No, we don't see.
No.
Jā, bet tas nepareizi izdarīt, pēc tam, lai divreiz nevajadzētu skaties. So,
I will try to share for you if I will.
I'm thinking, where's the problem? Yeah, I sent it also, the version, so we can try that one. Mums nebija divreiz tas jādara.
Yes, that we see well.
Okay, so I will change the slides for you, so you just go.
Okay. I don't see it myself.
we have some technical issues again. But yeah, then I really suggest to go. Yeah, we lost her. Let's move to the Lithuanian case, and yeah, hopefully the Latvian colleague will come back. So yeah, Agita, could you communicate with her? And yeah, then it's my pleasure to present.
So hello, so I restarted the Zoom again. So something.
Okay, so Marta, now let's do the Lithuanian case, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, let's do like that.
Okay, thank you very much. So the case from Lithuania will be presented by Dr. Zita Rasuolė-Gasiūnaitė. She is the director of the Marine Research Institute at Klaipėda University, which is a university at the seaside. So please, Zita, the floor is yours.
So hello, I hope you can see my slides. Yes, okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to present Lithuanian case. And I will show some examples how Lithuanian researchers are prepared to be involved into the implementation of the mission. So the main points in my presentation will be facilities, competencies, and experience. I'm from Klaipėda University, and this is the only marine-oriented science and education institution in Lithuania. We are quite young university, but with well-developed marine and maritime infrastructure and competencies. Last few years, we are listed among the top 200 universities in the world in the field of oceanographic research. Among all our international activities, I would like to mention that Klaipėda University is a member of EU Connexus Alliance. It is transnational European higher education and research institution for smart urban coastal sustainability. And this is quite relevant to the mission goals as we saw today. Among the 5 major divisions of Klaipėda University, 2 are directly dedicated to the marine and maritime issues. This is Faculty of Marine Technology and Natural Sciences and Marine Research Institute. So it is quite logical that one of our strategic research directions is perfectly in line with the EU mission and covers development of sustainable technologies, blue and green growth, and healthy sea. Marine Research Institute of Klaipėda University has more than 20 years experience in aquatic and environmental research, and our state-of-art research infrastructure situated in 4 thematic labs dedicated for coastal, environmental, and biogeochemistry, fisheries and aquaculture, waterborne transport and air pollution, and mechanical and marine engineering. With a nearly 150 research and technical staff, we are constantly running about 30 research projects. And here in the map, you could see red points, and those red points show our fieldwork sites, our experience in field research in the marine and coastal areas. Concerning our competencies in marine environmental research, I would like to stress aquatic biogeochemistry and ecosystem functioning. We are using a set of different methods, starting from traditional biogeochemistry up to functional genomics at the organism and ecosystem levels to analyze material cycles in inland, transitional, and coastal waters in the pelagic and benthic environment along geographical and eutrophication gradients. We are working with evaluation of ecosystem services and preparing nature-based management solutions. We are also developing environmental modeling tools for spatial and temporal forecasts and predictions. Another important topic is the new generation pollutants. For example, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, phthalates, etc. Their identification, analysis of the effects on ecosystems and risks for human health. We are also working with development and testing new technologies to reduce pollutions. And here is a few examples of such activities and also good results of cooperation of biologists and engineers. Two biological treatment technologies are already patented, and one is about the use of mushroom cultures for the composition of oil pollutants in the marine environment. And it is very interesting to say that those mushroom cultures, they are extracted from the water and sand of the Baltic coast. We also created waste paper-based sorbent for oil spill. This is highly efficient, biodegradable and reusable material with microorganisms for better biodegradation. And I would like also to mention the floating islands. It is a very popular solution tested in the Colonial Lagoon and recently applied for other water bodies. It could be used for restoration of coastline, removal of nutrients, and increasing of biodiversity. And we are also working engineers together with biologists to minimize use of plastic in the construction of those islands. A lot of work was done for the development of environmental monitoring methods and tools, and it includes analysis of satellite data, aerial vehicles, underwater video, and acoustic technologies. We contribute to the development of operational and integrated water quality assessment service, combining in situ measurements, spaceborne and airborne images. We are also developing multi-criteria decision-making methods for the assessment of environmental vulnerability, sensitivity, and risk in the context of climate change or human activities. So coastal and marine management and implementation of marine policy covers very broad issues, from general policy up to concrete solutions. And this is, for example, this is preparation of scientific background for spatial planning of marine and coastal areas. It is also ecological status assessment, nature-based long-term management and planning solutions for the sustainable coastal zone development. I would like to stress two specific topics. They also were mentioned today. It is plastic litter detection, monitoring and management in marine and coastal environment, and also bathing water quality assessment, detection of potential sources of pollution and human pathogens, for example, Vibrio. And also we have developed the algorithms for decision making. And the last topic I would like to mention is sustainable management of marine bioresources, aquaculture, and blue biotechnology. We are providing recommendations for sustainable use and management of aquatic living resources based on monitoring of fishery resources at the Lithuanian coast, analysis and forecast of fish population dynamics, and so on. And also innovative solutions for marine recirculated aquaculture systems. We are working with the shrimp and fish aquaculture, use of aquaponics, geothermal water, etc., etc. And it is also the tool to reduce human pressure on the marine ecosystem. So it is the main keywords, and this is the end of my short overview from Klaipėda side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zita, for overviewing what Klaipėda University already does in the line of this mission. So, just a quick question. Yeah. Do you put the mission already in your strategic plans for the upcoming decades? How are you dedicated to contribute to this European mission?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you could see that we are prepared to contribute to this mission, and there are some additional keywords I also could mention: the citizen science, green port initiatives, and zero waste, zero carbon. It is also the topics of our activities, and we could contribute in those fields.
Perfect. So yeah, that was a little of idea behind this event, to show that things are already happening in our countries, that there are potential and there are concrete solutions already that just need to be implemented on a wider scale.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And now we move to Latvia. I will try to share the screen for you.
Thank you.
Okay, Marta, you can try to do it yourself, because I'm not a host of this event.
Okay, I will try once again.
And then
yeah, it should be, because we tested in. So I'm sharing. Yeah. This one. Spaghetti rolls, Not that kind. No, it starts to kind of, the Zoom is not uploading it, unfortunately. I don't know why.
Okay, I will try again.
Yeah, because
now
it's the Zoom thing, because it's a quite big presentation.
Okay, can you see the slides?
No, not yet. We don't see yet.
No, I can see them already. It seems that despite all the testing, there is always one poor presenter who gets all the technical issues.
Yeah, that's a life we live now.
Marta, do you see now?
Because I think everybody sees it except Marta. So Marta, could you try just to speak, and I will try to change the slides accordingly, more or less, and because we really want to hear about what Latvia has in terms of missions. Or we lost Marta again.
Okay, I'm back. It's the Zoom thing again, unfortunately. Yeah, we usually use like MS Teams on this, so maybe it's got confused a little bit.
Do you see the screen now?
Yeah, I see screen. So
okay.
Good.
So let's start.
Okay.
Yeah. So short introduction. Introduction about the way how we got to the mission C. And initially, this whole started as a necessity to tackle Latvia's both economical, societal challenges. And also, we all know the local and, yes, if I could ask you to go to the next slide. Also, we all know the challenges, the strategies of Latvia and both EU. And so we had to act. And today also, some of you mentioned, and there were questions about the action and acting. And I think that one of the most important aims and of this whole process that we call Mission Latvia is to tackle these challenges, but through rapid innovation on many levels. And I think innovation is that we are lacking both in policies, both in industries, and also in science. So why Mission Latvia? We call this process of both developing Latvia, reaching Latvia's aims, but with a very strong focus to give our contribution to European Union countries, society, and people. And we have very historically, if I can ask you to go to the next slide, historically, Latvia has very strong skills both in technology and science, and now we are taking up, and we're very well prepared for the 5G rollout. And together with our people capacity, talents, experience to overcome big challenges, we put forward these our competencies as a basic for developing this international testing and innovation platform. And if I can ask to go to next slide. Yes, so previously I mentioned all those, we all know European Green Deal, Mission Starfish, Sustainable Development Goals, as much goals as we also have, of course, in Latvia, the Latvia Sustainable Development Strategy and National Development Plan. Very urgent situation with very short terms. So once again, coming back to our necessity to act and to look for specific instruments and specific initiatives that in our case is the Mission C 2030. So let's go on to the next slide. And yes, but as I mentioned, and as we say all the time, when talking to stakeholders, potential partners, both at Latvian and international level, if we do things as we have done them before, we will get the same result. So new approach is necessary. And this is how we present also mission-oriented approach. Yes, it's about bringing technology together with science, but a very important aspect of the mission approach is that we are looking for new ways how to bring together governments, society, industries, scientists, because working in silos won't get us there where we want to get. And I think this is a very important role of this mission-oriented approach, that we have big focus and also at that and working also within Latvia and starting to onboard our government, our industries. What does actually it mean, especially when we have to solve such a complex missions, and it's not only about Mission C and Mission Latvia. It's the overall approach when so many stakeholders are involved. So yes, we can move on to next one. So, and this is, as we say, Latvia is calling to act. And this is, as we say, Mission C 2030. It's a very complex process. And yes, we know all those challenges, I'm sorry, the Baltic Sea is facing. One of the most polluted seas in the world. So many reasons for that: agriculture, production, you know, everything how we live, everything how we do our businesses, our daily habits. So as I previously mentioned in the introduction, that the sea is the result. And also this is something that we are trying to work with, as we say, society, but more specific groups, because not everyone can relate to it. Many are just looking at it as a matter of the sea, the river. But when we start to onboard and explain what is actually the result of it, then also people change their opinion about that. And the good news also spoke today about young people, young generation, they understand it and they are really already very willing to participate. And I think the education part also for Latvia will be a separate category. Yes, we can move to next slide. So as I mentioned, a lot of countries are linked to this situation of the Baltic Sea. And when we explain this whole situation, when we tell what is the actual cause of it, then we also address the issue of water as such, because also not many understand that it's the water, it's a global issue. And we are already part of the global society. Again, this is, as I previously mentioned, this mindset of working in silos in our own ecosystems, but we have to bring our experience together, form new partnerships, because this is the only way. And as we already, as I mentioned, through mission-oriented approach, how to tackle and how to solve them. And as we say that in the case of Latvia, in the case of Mission C, the Baltic Sea Bay territory will be our pilot territory for innovating, testing, and afterwards scaling all those innovative policies, water-related solutions and technologies. So this will be our beginning point. And then with all this innovation, we will give the contribution, as I mentioned before, to the European scale. So let's go on. Yes, so Mission C aims. Several aims, and as we say and as we point out, that the overall goal is to address the issues of climate change, the pollution and the circular economy, because this whole mission and this whole process is with so many layers, and therefore we also divide the aims. So the innovation is one thing, the policies is another thing, work with society or education, it's another category. And so what we plan to do is we plan to develop, and we are already doing it, as I will tell afterwards, to develop this regenerative ecosystem for restoring the sea in long term, creating these circumstances with supportive legal instruments. And then we, through developing these innovations in all those industries, agriculture, cities, smart cities, and many others and technologies, we will scale them. And hopefully through developing these international scope partnerships, we will do it more rapidly, because as also you mentioned before, there is not much time, of course, for all this actually to happen through all these innovations. Yes, so let's go on. Yes, and this principle, as we say, act, innovate, scale. This is how we will work, because we have to start with smaller scale to test it, to test all those innovations, those policies, and Latvia has already very good pilot initiatives for legislative support. And so we, as let's say, comparing to many other European countries, are smaller country, but in this case, this is our huge benefit, because we can be more flexible, and also through this involving other partners at the international level and experts. This is also others point out this as a Latvia's huge benefit, especially when we have already these strong technological competencies and pilot initiatives, and as I mentioned, especially legislative, because no innovation can happen without legislative support and innovative policies. And let's move on. Yes, and what is the main goal? It's of course helping our businesses and developing our countries, industries and science, but overall with this main focus for the common good of Europe. And we also keep sharing our stories that we have been innovators for a long time. And this is how we are involving our society, educating, addressing younger generation, and bringing out these skills. Because if we have this huge challenge, then only by uniting all those target audiences and groups, we know that we will succeed in a far more rapid way. Yes, and let's go on. Yes, so as I mentioned, we are already working on several smaller initiatives within the mission and projects, and one of them is, as you see, is Mission C Accelerating. We are starting to develop it this year, and it will be accelerator for water innovations to happen. So it will be through involving the biggest science institutes of Latvia, technology companies, the government representatives, and of course already different kind of groups from students, different industries. So this mission approach is like a criteria through everything we do, bringing together industries, cross-sectoral representatives. Already one very huge project initiative is taking place, Baltic Sea Digital Twin, as we have very strong these already very well established long-term technological platform. It's 5G territory that will be this driving force for this Baltic Sea Digital Twin. And at this stage, we are open to form partnerships, to exchange experience, and I think also this is a very interesting topic for conversation with some representatives of today's seminar, as it's already mentioned that this digital twin is taking place in many ecosystems. And as I mentioned, no innovation can happen without legislative support. So we will also have this another support instrument sandbox that will be especially made for Mission C. These innovations to happen much more quicker, because if it takes years, as it's usually done, as we say that we want reach those goals in 2030 or 2050. Of course, there's another very important category of the mission projects to happen. It's mission project financing, private EU funding. Already today we looked at the Horizon possibilities. So looking at all those options together. And of course, one important aspect is that private funding here is also has much more bigger role than in other projects, because it helps these innovations to happen in a much more faster way. So also looking at this category is very important. Also, one of the support tools, instruments will be navigation center. Navigation center, the idea comes from very complex processes where we have to, where we have so many stakeholders, so many parties, and we have to develop a governance model for these projects to happen, to being implemented. The navigation center will be this innovation hub and place where we will invite also international partners to come to see the big scale problem, to innovate, and through design thinking methods, these innovations will actually happen. And it will be a place for policy development. So we understand that it's such a complex process, so it has to be managed within specific methods. And this is what we call navigation center. And also a place for mission projects governance. Of course, this whole process and initiative is facilitated by Latvian Investment and Development Agency, but we understand the mission, when the mission will become much more with many projects and many sub-initiatives, it will require a new governance model with international partners. Okay, and we can move on to next slide. Yes, this is I previously mentioned Mission C Accelerator. As we will share this presentation later, you can look at more at those points. What does it include? What topics it covers? Mobility, agriculture, and food chains. So this is what we are now working on, and also looking for cooperation partners, financing. And this is a very important driving force for the mission C to be developed in 2022, this year. Yes, and we can go to next slide. Baltic Sea Digital Twin, also already many already many partners involved, not only from Latvia, from other countries at EU scale and even global scale. So this is what we also are working on as a separate initiative project, and are really open to experience exchange, partnerships, and all these other necessary aspects for digital twin to be developed within first this year, and afterwards already to form partnerships who are already part of it, and maybe join other Baltic Sea digital twin projects. So I think it's a really important topic for cooperation. Okay, and if you go on. Yes, and as we say, there are several areas for directions for joining Mission C. And of course, one, as I mentioned, and we have talked with Egita a lot about it, and we are working on it daily, developing partnerships, because there are so many possible layers for partnership. I mean, is it like experience exchange, knowledge, or is it like financing model, helping in different models, or is it financing development? So this is what we are already working on very actively, and therefore this webinar today is really valuable to actually understand the full context of what is happening at the European Union scale. And with this, we are saying we're ready to act and to do and to really move forward and to become part of these networks, and also to say that Latvia is ready to become this territory of innovation and both policies, technological solutions, and many other what is necessary for the mission and for the common good of European Union level. And we already are talking with organizations, partners, and as I mentioned, many ways how to join the mission, Mission C 2030, whether through accelerator or joining digital twin project, or developing individual projects that correspond Mission C 2030 aims. And of course, it is facilitated by LIA, but we are not owning the mission. The mission is such a huge, complex process that the more join Mission C, the better result we will get, and much more sooner. And yes, I think this would be it about the possible cooperation. And let's go on. Yes, and as we say, welcome on board. Yes, so
Paldies, Marta. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you much. Yeah, unfortunately, we ran over the time of the webinar, but I think it was very valuable to understand how far Latvian mission is and how open we are to continue with the cooperation, and therefore joining EU mission activities as well. So thank you so much. Brigitte, would you like to say the last word?
Yeah, really want to thank all our speakers for the time, despite all the technical problems that we had, that you still managed to present what's happening in our countries. Of course, it's not a comprehensive picture, it's just some snapshots from there and here, and that was the goal of today's seminar. The mission is just starting, the things are starting to roll out. The final picture will depend on all of us, what we'll manage to create together. So with that, I give the word to Ula and Egita, and let's finish this webinar for today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much from my side as well. And I would like to as well thank all the Baltic speakers, and definitely we will organize that kind of events as well on our missions as well. So keep an eye on our channels.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Commission representatives, to stay and actively participate in the whole webinar. Stay tuned. Join other Baltic office events in the future, and yeah, let's see each other in the next Baltic Sea event soon.